Okay. Yeah, we were talking about my gay sweater. It's it's one of those 1950s 50 styles sweaters that the old Rosh go-go. What do you call those things? I can't even remember what you call it. It's been such a long time. You know,
Toga?
the
No.
first game day. You see all the guys from the 50s wearing on the first game day, the football game,
Yeah.
homecoming. Yeah, the homecoming sweater. Yeah. So it's kind of nice around here today. I
We,
woke up, it was sunny. Actually, the sun was out, and so I opened up all the windows, but it was kind of cold out there still.
yeah, it's is it still snowing out there or is that over?
No, we have no snow. Actually, it's kind of scary. I drove down to the lake yesterday, and there's no ice on the lake. It's February 7th, and there's no ice on the lake.
Mm.
It's uh, it's
Wow.
I was just thinking, oh my God, this has got to be so bad for the bacteria. Uh, and next year we're gonna have like a massive fish die off. Uh, you see those
Algal bloom or something?
algae bloom, and then it kills off a certain species of fish, and then all the fish, there's millions and millions of them, they die, and then they wash up to the shore around here, and it's quite an odor. And you gotta live with it, and you can smell it for miles and miles, and that if the lake gets cold enough, it kills it all. But this year, it's just not going to happen.
Wow. Because it's pretty early. I mean, it's barely February, so I mean, it's is it even the middle of winter right now? I guess it's about the middle, right?
Yeah, it should be. There should be like a good foot of ice on the lake,
Mm.
and
Wow.
and and there's nothing. I was just looking. I could have went out and probably took a swim. It looks so warm. Yeah, that's funny. We have the polar bears. You ever watch that on TV?
No,
They
like a
call this.
discovery or something.
Yeah, they call themselves the Polar Bear Club up here, and
Oh
what
yeah.
they do is they bust a chunk of hole in the ice, and then they jump in with speedos on, and then it's like refreshing.
Yeah. I always wonder about those guys, but they do it there where you're at.
Yeah, they do it
I,
there.
I always think of it
Here.
as a Canada thing or something like that. Wow.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's a upper northern state thing too. The Polar Bear Club. That's funny. I looked into it once, and I was like, no, I'm not jumping in that water. What are you crazy? I'll die.
Yeah. I don't really get whether that's like, I don't know, maybe they think it's healthy because it gets your heart going or it gets things, but I think it could give you a heart attack if you weren't in good health, you'd be like that kind of shock. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I would think so. Yeah, yeah. I've hit cold water before, and it always really just shocked me. And then you
Yeah.
sit there, you can't move for a second. It's like, oh.
Real fun. That's what I
Real
call a
fun.
good time.
Yeah. No, when you think about ice therapy, sports stars, crawling that ice bath once in a while, but that could even cause, if you have any problem with tachycardia or anything, that could force that to happen, or or blood thickening. It
Yeah.
will it will thicken your blood. Will it, or thin your blood? Cold water. I can't remember.
Should thicken
Uh,
it. Yeah. More blood
it,
cells. Yeah.
and it thickens it, and it's also okay. Now it's harder to pump, and your heart's working overtime to get that through. But
Yeah.
that's terrible.
Yeah. Good point about
But they
yeah. Tachycardia. I know people with that.
Yeah, but they do it, and every year it's a big event. I have to watch on the local channel here. Like, here's the polar bears jumping in, and it looks horrifying.
You're always, you're always just one step away from going out and joining them, huh?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a lot of things I intended on doing in my life uh, around here, but never really did it. It's kind of a weird culture in the northern state.
Hmm.
Uh, well, we have rowing too, boat row, in rowing. I always wanted to
Yeah.
row. When I was younger, rowing was because I had a rowing machine to work out with. Did you ever one of those?
I've used them. I've never owned
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was like, okay. And I got the peak rowing on that. And I was like, I'm going to go join a rowing team.
Yeah, that's the logical thing at that
Yeah.
point.
But it turned out that I was too big.
Oh, really? For the boats? Wow.
Yeah, I was close to 300. So you could have one guy on the team that was big, and he was like the leader or the captain or the anchor, they called him. And then,
Right.
but you're only
Yeah.
allowed to have one guy, and it's like, nope, nope, can't. We can put you in reserves. And I was like, I've never been a reserve in my life.
You're all, I'm too proud. I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. But I should have stuck it out. I know I should have stuck it out because I worked really hard on that rowing thing. I got the technique down.
It's
And
funny you mentioned it. I mean, it's I didn't know anything about it when I was in school. We don't really have a lot of water around here, but learning about it later on, I thought that's the one thing that I would have actually enjoyed doing. Yeah, to do some crew, they call it, right? Crew.
yeah, crew rowing. It get going pretty fast. We can watch them on the river a lot. That's I used to go down to the Cuyahoga. You wouldn't think that the Cuyahoga would be a great place to row, but they have the rowing team down there, and used to go watch them, and they used to scoot by. It's like fast. They go right by, and you go, wow, that's pretty impressive.
No shit, huh? It's a good question. I wonder what they do get up to, but it's pretty fast, huh?
Yeah, it is pretty fast. How about that? That
30
is a
miles an
good
hour.
question. Yeah, 20 some. You'd have to maybe one of our viewers can look that up real quick. I don't even
Yeah.
have the room. Who's in the room right now?
Yeah, I was just trying to get it up myself. Because that's
let
a
me
lot of
see.
manpower. They have two different. They got three sizes, right? A 2-man boat, a 4-man boat, and an 8-man. I think. Maybe it's just 4 and 8. I don't know. But it's a lot of manpower. You could really get that thing hauling ass. We know men are pretty strong.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. It takes a lot of strength to do that, and it's a really really great exercise. Uh, I did it for years. Now I can't do it because of my shoulder.
Yeah.
It's like I ripped my shoulder out as well, a cop did it for me, but
Oh man, you got an altercation with a cop?
yeah, after my last when I reported a woman for hitting me.
Jesus Christ!
It's like, nope, no more hitting Joe. And then I called the police, and they put me in the car and ripped my shoulder out.
God damn, they tore it. Yeah. To protect and serve, Joe. I know you always say that.
To protect and serve. That was really, yeah. But that was just like, you do it because, we're supposed to do that as MGTOWs and MRAs. We can ask the questions, then why is it this way? Why do you do these things? Why is it so slanted towards women? The female she hit me. The rules should be the same for everybody, but they're not.
They're most certainly not.
And we're not talking about rules that are arbitrary rules. What do you call that when you hit somebody?
Assault.
We're talking about assault here.
It's a big fucking deal. Yeah,
that's a big deal, and it should be the same way for men and women.
Absolutely, it should. I mean, the fact that we have to like articulate that or even say such a ridiculous thing is that, well, cops should treat anyone who assaults somebody with the same. Nobody gets to assault somebody. It sounds like it's a childish concept, right? It's like a 3-year-old concept, but yet here we are.
Yeah, but here we are arguing with them about one of the basic rules in our country of assault, and that's wow. It has to be explained. And they go to the VAWA rules right away. If it's a woman, she gets a pussy pass, and she's allowed to hit a man if she's mad or unhappy, or she feels she deserves something, or or anything she wants. Actually, if she just feels she wants something, she can hit a man and put him in jail. And I had to test that one. I tested the waters on that one. I jumped in, and it was cold. Did I see Shining? Shining's in the room.
What's up, everybody?
There he is.
What's up? How you doing, Shining?
How are we doing this fine day?
Oh, good, good. We moved our way from weather, the lake, to swimming, to rowing, to domestic violence.
Wow, all in 15 minutes. That's a lot of topics, man.
No shit. Everything always comes back to domestic violence.
Yeah, yeah. You see how I can weave anything back to an MRA? You give me anything, say oranges, and I can weave it back to a MGTOW.
One day we'll aspire to be to be that good.
It all comes back to bitches and hoes and sluts. That's
Yeah,
what
yeah. When MGTOW United said all paths lead to MGTOW, he's really right about that, isn't it? Because there's nothing you can't weave back to how the gynocentric or the femme apocalypse doesn't influence us in every facet of our lives.
I think that's an important concept yeah, that's a key thing. And I did love the way that United always said, MGTOW or death or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I love his, yeah. All roads lead to MGTOW or death. That's what it is.
Oh.
Yeah, shout out to all the guys there. Evic,
Yeah.
Warhorse. Who else we got? What, Johnny Midnight.
Johnny
Got
Midnight.
Zeta's there. Good one.
ISIS is in there.
ISIS is in there. Well, ISIS is supposed to be in here. HD's right there. Oh, that's James.
James, yeah. We have a new MGTOW, masculinish MGTOW.
I don't think he's
Masculine.
new. He's popped up on my alerts.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
me too.
Well,
I don't think he's new. Yeah, for some reason he's popped up on my alert saying, "Be careful of this guy."
be careful. Yeah, he's a MGTOW. You got to be careful of those MGTOWs.
I don't know. I don't know who it could be. I reckon he's one of those guys that's changed his account names
Yeah.
to disguise who he is. That's what I'm thinking.
Okay. So what do we got? What are they talking? ISIS and Muslim rape squads? And,
They're just messing about. Them guys, they've got nothing better to talk about except flim flam and nonsense. Nonsense they hear on TEDx. And Young Turks.
The Young Turks, yeah. I think that whole story about, you know how I am with conspiracies. I think that whole story about the German train station there and on New Year's Day, I thought that was fabricated. What's the German counselor's name? The woman there?
Merkel.
Yeah, she came out and said they were investigating to see if it's was a real thing, and she did that at a church that was across the street there. And I started looking into it whether someone had rented the space for that day for a protest, and then I found some very interesting statements from the police and the government that they consider that as just being a production, a fabrication that was misleading. These women were just acting.
Well, I said that from the beginning. I says unless there's a complaint, unless there's a victim that comes forward, then it's just a bunch of.
Yeah, the feminists have figured that out, that they can do that too. They can give these little productions of acting. It's not so hard to find a bunch of guys that want to act like asses on TV for them. If they promise them a little bit of that slit in between, the downward section. If they promise them that, they can get these guys to, hey, why don't you grope me for a few minutes on TV, and then it'll be a big production, and we'll put it on national. We'll spam it out over the social media, and it'll become news.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going. People are pulling little pranks. I don't know if you guys saw my little link to. It's a new channel I found. I think they're called Jalal or something. And these guys, they're dressed up as Arabs and they throw bags at strangers in public.
Yeah,
and, everyone just runs.
Everybody just runs from the Muslim bag throwing.
What's in the bags?
Yeah, what's in the bags?
Oh, the bags are empty, but because there's so much paranoia and fear around Muslims and Muslim bags, that two guys jumped in the river. So there's a guy in a big long thobe and the headscarf, and then he throws his black bag at some member of the public, and one guy jumped in the river.
And one guy
Wow.
jumped in a river. What is there? Anthrax in those bags?
I don't know. All this paranoia.
Muslim cooties, I think.
Muslim cooties, yeah. It's gone way too far. It's gone way ISIS and all that stuff. You know, we gotta. It's similar to the 1950s and 60s in America, where there was a communist under every bed. You know.
Right.
I know.
Right. McCarthy.
I tried to say that in my video. Like every couple of years, every like 10 years, the enemy changes. Like in this just before the 70s, it was like the Vietnamese communists. You know, we all had to hate the Vietnamese, and then before that it was the Russian communists, and then before that it was the Jews, and then there's always some group that we're supposed to hate.
It's wag the dog, man. Right.
I know.
Right. It's distract, and it works so well, and it never stops working. That's what drives me crazy.
Yeah, if you go, wait a second, guys, this is kind of crazy. They'll go, you're a communist sympathizer.
Oh yeah, that's what Cameron did. He said that anybody that didn't vote to bomb Syria was a terrorist sympathizer.
Yeah, you're a sympathizer. It's McCarthyism, yeah.
So crazy, man.
That's crazy. Yeah.
It's because people are so. It's like it doesn't take a lot of insight. You don't have to look very far to see that whatever these acute problems are, like the terrorists, it's so obvious that the reasons behind it are much more significant, So it's like, why are there terrorists? There's terrorists because of all the political problems we've been having over there. It has nothing to do with like the terrorists are just these crazy people. It's all I don't want to explain that very well, but it's
nobody wants to look at the cause and effect.
The causes,
what caused these people to be so upset? Was it poverty? Probably. Was it getting their resources stolen? Probably. Humans only act in behaviors like that to protect resources, to protect their area, to protect their land, to protect what they feel is important for their, protecting their woman or their right to mate or whatever that is. And humans are very simple. The newscasters, they never talk like we do they? They never talk like they never present it as, oh, this is just all out of control, and we should be saying what caused the problem instead of making everybody into a communist. They just go along with that's what makes the mainstream media so lame, isn't it?
They're the worst.
They're the worst.
It's absolute garbage.
Yeah,
never trust a newsreader. Never trust a politician. You think people would have worked it out by now?
Yeah, the fact that we've been over there dropping bombs in the desert for like how's it been 15 years now, since 2000? Forever. I mean, you don't think that has something to do with why because you got to look at them. They're poor, right? The terrorists, they're not like affluent people. They're poor, and to think that like, oh yeah, there's just these evil terrorist men that are just evil terrorist men for no reason, and they're just coming to get us. It's so dumb.
I think that's where the government went wrong in Vietnam, because I actually discovered not so long ago that there was a lot of Vietnamese that actually wanted the American military there, because they didn't want the communist Chinese influence coming in from the northern Vietnamese. But when the American army went over there and they just started carpet bombing, which you bomb everybody and everything. So we'll just bomb everybody, everything. Well, it didn't take long
to their mind, right?
to say, you know what, anything's better than this. So I don't know. They're not very smart. Well, I guess brains isn't a requirement to be an army general or.
Absolutely, man. It makes you wonder. You imagine all these high-ranking men sitting around a table, with all this garb on and all their flags and shit on their, and you're like, well, these guys are going to be pretty smart because they got experience, and there's a lot of them, and they're going to be pretty smart. But what do? They're like, you know what? I think the best thing to do is go in there and bomb the fuck out of them.
Oh, there's a crisis going on in Serbia.
Let's go bomb the fuck out of them.
We need to just kill them. Kill them all.
Because it's worked so well the last time and the time before that.
Saddam Hussein is slaughtering the Kurdish. He's killing his own people. Let's just drop bombs on everybody. If everybody's there, if everyone's there, there'll be nobody there to kill each other. That's a brilliant idea, Bush. Let's go for it.
Yeah, that's going right to the root of the problem, huh? People. It's people that are the root of the problem. We got to get rid of all those people.
No people, no problems.
And while we're there, we'll level all their little brick mud houses just to make sure that no more people grow up in their place.
I know it's insanity, but yeah, I don't know who came up with it, but yeah, I support the thesis that Mgtow is anti-war, because obviously men dying in a battle or in a war or in a conflict that doesn't benefit them or their country in any way, surely that's got to be the most
absolutely
blue pill waste of life ever.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys. Would you agree that a war, to me, again, it all comes back to Mgtow, it all comes back to gynocentrism. I say war is gynocentric. That's what it is. You know, if you think about the way it's operating, it's essentially just like women trying to get resources and willing to do anything to get those. You know what I mean? It's gynocentric.
Yeah. Why would we want to go fight for a bunch of Western women? And I hate to use Western women. I should exclude that from my vocabulary. But women that want to run you through a divorce court, take everything, make you into a slave. That's what you're fighting for. You're fighting for these women to do that to you. Or a bunch of trashy, drunk women on the street that have no ethics and values anymore. Riding the cock carousel, all that bullshit. And that's what we're going to fight for, so we can have all of that. Oh, they can keep it, you know.
No, I think when you're describing divorce and the disaster that men, particularly that we've seen and been through, I think the term Western women is quite appropriate, because over in the East, I mean, a woman getting divorced, I mean, she's not going to win much, really. I mean, she's got other ways. No, definitely, I would agree that women are pretty much the same everywhere, but. Women over there, they don't really do the same thing. They don't really have the same system there.
Yeah, in the broad sense, I would think of war as like a bunch of alpha men, peacocking for women, right? It's like, because like who like Mgtow, we don't really, conflict isn't really a significant issue for men of, what do I want to say? For good men, for good men. But it's men who are trying out to compete for women that cause conflict, So that's why you can think of it all just whether it's
Well, that's how they try to work this Cologne thing and the Swedish thing. It's like, oh, look at the women, Mgtow, the women. The women, they're getting raped.
Right.
Come on, guys.
Go on, jump in there.
The women, they're losing their virginity to these immigrants.
It's just like you're saying, and you're saying Traversable. It's like one of the biggest things that I want to see come out of this whole gynocentric misandry bubble is that women, they get their just desserts. So they let in the barbarians or whatever, however you want to say that. I don't of course mean that literally, but
the Saracens on the Moors.
Let them get what they deserve. It's like they fucking did it. Let them get the consequences. It's
but the thing is, I'm still waiting for. I mean, they keep saying to me, oh, Shining. What if it's true? What if it's true? We're still waiting for that. I mean. I'm not so. I mean, like you say, I'm saying, they deserve it. The Western women, the Western feminists, they deserve this alleged abuse. But
they sure as hell don't deserve men to come in and protect them from it. That's for sure, right?
Right.
It's the burning building analogy. So when like Bill Burr or you make the joke, there's no feminists in a burning building. Well, because that one, right?
No.
Have you seen him do that one? It's hilarious. He's like, she turns it from some rabid, man-hating feminist, but then as soon as the building is on fire, she curls up her hair in her pigtails and goes, "I'm just a little girl, save me,"
Yeah,
and I just want that it doesn't work this time around on men. I want them to say no, to just leave that bitch in the burning building, right? That's the fucking let her fiend for herself, because that's what they've done,
Mm.
Yeah. He says, Invincible Summer says, weapons of mass deception.
I know, and look at the small-minded people. They just swallow it.
Oh,
Yeah, they tell you the communists are coming to get them, or the Jews are coming to get them, or the Arabs are coming or the Muslims are coming to get them. Come on, guys.
Come on, guys.
Now.
Yeah. We all.
Your only enemy is your government. Yeah,
Yes.
These are the guys that tax you beyond your what you have. These are the guys that arrest you. These are the guys that put you in prison for things that they shouldn't put you in prison for. These are the guys that take your homes. These are the guys that take your vehicles, that take your business.
Absolutely.
Come on, guys, man. It's getting old now.
Yeah. I was just looking at the Fox News. Fox News is they generate news stories every day on how we should be afraid. The big story today is South Koreans to discuss deployment on missile defense system.
Wait, they do what with the missile defense?
They're going to discuss it. So they're just discussing it. So that's newsworthy. It's like, and they're going right to okay, they have it. It's a prognostication of a future event that may or may not happen, and all of a sudden they're all over it.
Yeah, planting that seed of fear in your subconscious.
That seed of fear, and then we got Donald Trump, just sucking all that in, and he just relishes all that warmongering behavior. Oh God!
Don't let him wag the dog, guys. Just don't let him do it for one time in history. Could we just not believe their fucking lies for once?
Yeah. Why can't we just have one honest news station that just says it like we do? Like, hey, this is all just bull. Don't buy into it.
Yeah. When I come back going through 8th grade, you just think back to your basic training, education. Like, you learn about the Nazis, you learn about propaganda. We learned how powerful it was, symbols and the power of the media. We all learned that in 8th grade or 7th grade or high school, whatever it is, college, if you went to college. So we need to apply that and realize that is what we're experiencing. It's all propaganda. It's all bullshit and lies.
Yeah, it's all yellow journalism. I say that not a lot of kids know what yellow journalism is, but that was the biggest fear of in the 60s and 70s. You heard the term a lot, but that's what we have now is yellow journalism, where it's just fear mongering. It's oh God, what's CSI crime stories playing over and over, so the old ladies are afraid to go out of their house because they're going to be raped.
Totally. It absolutely is that. It's stuff that back then was so rare as to be noteworthy of a description, but now it's everywhere. So it's not even like, it's not the exception. It's just the rule.
It's just the rule. I used to go over to my mother's house, and she used to watch those CSI things endlessly. She loved what's that? Mariska Hargitay or whatever her name is on CSI, and she used to watch them endlessly. And she had her blinds shut one day.
Yeah.
And then I was like, "What are you watching this crap for?" And she says, "Well, they're out there. They're gonna rape me, and there's just bad people everywhere." And I was like, "No, just watch some cartoons or something."
Yeah, if you're that easily influenced, then just change the channel and it'll be like Disneyland.
Yeah, watch Disney, some happy Disney movie or something. But that's one of the first thing we do as Mgtows. We turn off the TV, don't we? We turn off all that stuff.
Absolutely, man. I haven't had TV in like 10 years, and it's like I don't miss it for a fucking second.
Yeah. Now, whose book? Tim Patton's book just came out. Did you read that this week, Shining?
Oh, didn't you buy that?
Yeah, I bought it. I read up
Uh,
to chapter 7, but I stopped. But that's one of the things he says a Mgtow does is you turn off the world and stop thinking like the world thinks when you become a Mgtow right away, and that it gives you more mind space to do the things that you know as a Mgtow uh, are more important. What's more important? Watch Fox News and yelling at a TV with a TV brick, or going out into your garage and looking at some mechanics and saying, I can, make some money in my garage. I can do this. And he was talking about, the whole book was talking about making money as a
Mhm.
MGTOW, and
Nice.
spending that time more wisely. I've seen a bunch of videos lately, just this week, on loneliness, MGTOW loneliness, and I said, how can you be lonely as a MGTOW? There's just so much to do. I mean,
yeah,
there's
I think there's
Yeah.
still a lot of guys in that early stage. I mean, there's still a lot of guys they don't, they're still in that nationalistic gung ho. Whatever the president says must be true. Whatever we see on CNN must be true. And on the YouTube now, obviously, there's a lot of mainstream bullshitters, guys that just jump on the mainstream narrative and try and get subscribers, and like the Young Turks and TEDx and all the rubbish
yeah.
news channels.
Yeah. Yeah. The Young Turks is one I absolutely I don't like those guys. Like they
Oh,
bug me. Um, saying Jank Unger or whatever. That guy because I followed him along in a former life. I was kind of liberal, whatever, and so I got into the Young Turks, and that guy just is always. Anyway, he's so full of shit, and then Anna Kasparian
oh
is
yeah.
like she's so full of shit, right? She's a classic. She like tries to imitate him and be like kind of masculine like him, but she never says anything worth hearing. She's just fucking a complete box of. She's just and then
Oh,
and
a bag of hammers.
a bag of hammers and super gynocentric. I mean, like she said something the other day. I don't know. Anyway, the Young Turks is
Well, there's a lot of guys trying it, isn't it? They'll like pick up some news on the week, and then they'll do a little spin on it, and they'll
right.
come on it. And there's all these guys trying their look. Well, there's a lot of girls as well trying their look at making a YouTube channel. So they just jump on the narrative and they just re-churn out the same rubbish that they've heard.
Totally. And yeah, with the Turks, they're like it's because they have a fair amount of influence, and what they're always saying is like he's so self-righteous, but he's always he's lying he's just so full. Anyway, I know you guys know this, but
Oh yeah, double speak, all that double
yeah,
speak coming out. But that's the MGTOW thing is once you turned off the mainstream media and you turn off that stuff, the next thing is question everything you hear.
Mm.
And we see that
yep,
around here when we get in these little tiffs and we get in these little arguments with we're usually searching for a truth, and you just question everything you hear until you get it, until the matrix becomes so visible to you, you could just kind of see those little green lines just dropping down as you're walking in real life, doesn't it?
Well,
yeah, yeah,
it's something I think a lot of guys realize. I mean, the red pill. The term the red pill means that you've discovered that you have been lied to your entire life. The fact that your
yeah,
entire reality, obviously, comes from the film The Matrix. Your entire reality is a lie. I mean, you've been living inside the television, and somebody's turned your head away from the television, and you're looking at the real world for the first time. I mean, isn't that what we mean by the red pill? I mean, how can you be red pill and you're still staring at the television, believing everything you read in the media and watch on the television? I mean, come on, guys.
that's a good point. The red pill is it's a it's so real. It's such a real thing. Like it's not just an analogy, but it's very and I was just going to add to what you're saying, Shining. It's like it's funny because the red pill applies to gender dynamics. Of course, it applies to male, female, the whole feminism, sex. You're the blue pill. It totally applies in that context. But it's interesting that the red pill, it actually applies in a lot of kind of distinct contexts. You could apply it to government propaganda. You can apply it to
you know, kind of our corporate consumerism society, that kind of red pill. It's a really effective analogy, and it's so real. It's so true. The extent to, you know, yeah.
I've always said, I've always wondered, it's like in Mgtow and in a lot of ways, in a lot of communities, the red pill doesn't extend beyond women. I mean, yeah, I mean, growing up, we were always told, I mean, I was always told that men were liars, that men were violent, that fathers were abusive, that men were always cheating. And then growing up, you realize it's actually the opposite. It's actually women are the liars, women are the cheaters, women are the abusive ones. And that's when you realize, wow, you know, everything's been turned upside down. But why does it stop there? You know, why does the lies only apply when you were told and talked about women? I mean, I think the more you investigate something, the more you realize actually a lot of the things we grew up presuming to be true are actually lies.
Absolutely, man. You know what's? I'll just bring up a very current one that struck me last night, or that continues to unravel for me. But more recently, it's the one of economics. So we're sold, you know, we're sort of sold that economics is this kind of hard science and it really works, and therefore we put a lot of trust in the economic system. But I'm starting to realize, and I know it's something that Mgtow are familiar with, you know, Mgtow follow economics and stuff. So we've been, you know, anti-Federal Reserve for a long time, but I just been starting to realize that, you know, economics as a thing, it's actually quite a soft science. It's not because none of the shit is really tested. It's not like you know, physics or chemistry where you actually test and then establish, you know, hard truths. Economics is all this stuff where, you know, all these talking heads, they're really just talking like out of their heads, like off their asses. None of it's hard. You know, none of it's really credible. And so it's a huge blue pill. It's a huge smoke screen of just you know, a way of controlling basically the mass psychology, so that the guys behind the scenes can sneak off with the loot. But that's another red pill that works really well, is economics, I think.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we see the red pill getting hijacked a little too. They're applying, even feminists are starting to say the word red pill. I was cruising by a feminist blog I like to keep up on. I know you got a lot of you guys secretly, like I do, go over just to see what they're saying.
Not me.
No, yeah, you do. Yeah.
I think I've actually graduated from that. I don't even watch those bitches.
Yeah. So I did it again this week. I went over it, and I joined up for some of my videos. You'll start seeing this. I joined up for this moms page.
Oh yeah.
It's for 540,000 moms talking about being single moms.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, what a treasure trove of just stories. You know, just
half a million, really?
Yeah, there's 500,000. Well, so I'm gonna start. I'm doing screenshots now of it, and we're gonna have some great stories. I was interested in this one woman, but I was over cruising, and they're starting to use the red pill, like they have their specific red pill language, like, why don't men buy me new shoes?
Well, yeah, if any Mgtow or any guys they link me to these feminist sites, and yeah, I'll go check it out, all these videos, and sometimes I'll leave a comment there, and that's how I found that single mothers little group where I left a comment saying, you know, let children see their fathers, and she really took exception to that. And then when I called her an old woman, she was so upset. Yeah, hopefully, and I'm looking to get that my little award back. She she got it taken down by copyright grounds, but hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll be getting that little thingy back.
Oh, I didn't. She had you taken down there?
Yeah, she had me taken down. Can you believe that, the cheeky bitch?
Yeah, she wanted to argue, and then she stopped wanting to argue as soon as you
as soon as you won.
As soon as you won the argument. Yeah, that's so typical. Yeah.
Censorship.
Yeah,
you can't win. You can't win. I censor you first.
I censor you first. Yeah, censorship. We talked about that last week. There's all that censorship going on.
She deleted half the comments on her video. Obviously, I think most of you guys listening went over there, and she deleted half those comments. So I uploaded a lower resolution copy to my channel, and obviously we just let the words flow.
Yeah, as far as those videos in the women's land, they do seem to. I don't know. I overall theme that I kind of feel is going on is you're getting a little bit of capitulation and conciliation on the part of females. They kind of see the writing is on the wall, and so you still have the hardcore feminist ones going off in their direction, but you see more of these females who are like kind of realize who butters their bread, and that they kind of are taking a little bit more the side of males, just just for their own interests and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, you can see they'll try to manipulate the red pill, won't they? They will try to manipulate it into getting us back to the farm, getting us in, and it's what women do. It's always a manipulation for resources.
So you still see any good videos this week apart from the feminist ones?
Oh my!
What was good this week?
I've been watching like this a lot of new men coming in, and I've watched maybe 10, 12 new producers this week. I don't have their names written down.
Oh, there's that Vietnamese guy. The guy where Mayor of Mgtow and what's his name, ex-Paladoc had a duel on his comment section. I don't know if you guys read that. It's hilarious.
Oh yeah, I sent that to you, and there's just a ton of guys coming in, and what it is they're just making videos saying, "Hello, I'm a new Mgtow. I've accepted Mgtow," and it's great to see. I don't know if they'll stick around or make videos or everything, but when guys get this, they feel a need to yell to the world, don't they? And open up the window and say, "Go away! I'm a Mgtow."
Just wanted you to know, everybody. I seen the light.
Yeah, and I think what they're talking to is their friends. They have friends that they've talked to probably for years on YouTube, and they're just saying, "Hey guys, be forewarned now. I'm a Mgtow, and things are going to change a little bit on my channel because I'm not putting up with it no more."
Right.
Footgill is talking about Mgtow meetup groups. Yeah, that's interesting. I said last year, that's the next stage after the online presence is for Mgtow guys to meet up and do thing, play football, play poker, beat each other up, run around the track, whatever it takes, guys. Obviously, there's that thing about loneliness that you mentioned earlier, but honestly, there's no reason to be. I mean, even if you want to chill out with some guys, I mean, there's plenty of Mgtow around. I've already met up with 2 Mgtow guys, and Denton's hopefully be meeting up. I don't think he'll mind me saying this, but hopefully he'll be meeting up with Heartburn soon enough, so that should be good.
Yeah, that is phase 2 Mgtow, where we start doing small rooms, and Mgtow's. I could really see Mgtow's. As soon as we have the time to set and start thinking about what we want, little clubs, little small rooms where we can, there's beer and a TV, some video games, and some tables for cards and stuff. Just little meetings or we have a meeting, we talk about the topic of the week like we're talking about now, and then it's social events. You start planning social events, steak roast barbecues, chicken wing, football games and stuff like that. The shit that men do,
SK Danchi, sorry, male feelings. Did you want to add to?
No.
SK Danchi brings up something very relevant. I'm sure you two watched Messenger's last video when he addresses the accusation that the Mgtow monks is just another religion, and I just want to address to that. Now, listen, guys, if you go from one dictionary to another, the term religion will differ. But generally speaking, everybody will understand a religion is a series or set of doctrines that exclude you from other doctrines from another group. So it's exclusive. Now, I've got a very easy test for you guys to apply when you want to know whether or not a group of ideology is a religion. And that's, can you be part of that group or ideology and still be part of an established religion? So, for example, can you be Mgtow and be Christian or Muslim or Jew? Well, yes, you can, because obviously there's lots of those. So can you be Mgtow monk and be a Christian, Jew, or Muslim? Yeah, you can. And now, well, the funny thing is, when you apply that to atheism, can you be an atheist and a Christian
No,
and a
yeah.
Jew? So,
Well, well, I mean, I'd like to just, yeah, I mean, on one hand, you could say, yeah, it's sort of fluid and it doesn't really matter, but don't you think, I mean, religions, the core defining element of religion revolves around sex, revolves around gynocentrism, all the rules. If you look at religion, what they really are, it's managing male-female dynamics, right?
Yeah.
That's like, you know, it's, again, everything comes back to gynocentrism.
well,
So like,
yeah, sorry, please,
so,
finish.
well, so like Judaism, Islam, Christianity, largely in practice as the rituals and the, you know, what they are, it really does revolve around gynocentrism. So to me, while I wouldn't like, you know, go making a big deal out of it, you know, just in principle, I would think that ultimately Mgtow is not super consistent with religion, just because of the fact that they're gynocentric.
Well, I would differ on that, because you get a lot of guys, Christians, Muslims, and Jews, and Hindu, and Sikh, and Zavo, whatever. There's a lot of them. They come into Mgtow, and it seems to be exactly what they were looking for. Personally, I would say that religion is whatever is the path with which you attain your God, or you reach your God, and God being that thing which you worship. So that could be anything. So we say that for the blue pillars, it's the pussy, or the PUA.
You know what religion? The only religion that's not allowed in here is the religion of gynocentrism, and that's where we're getting this from. We're getting people that want to be women when they come in here, and there's a lot of these. There's some guys that come in here and they say, "I'm just going to be a woman," and you can't have the religion, the civil religion of gynocentrism, and come in here, and the first response they get, well, you guys are monks.
Yeah.
You guys are a new religion. That's who's projecting that to us.
I see.
That's where it's coming from. So you know, they have to give us a label. We didn't have a label before that. You know, actually, Sandman came up with that, and I wish he'd apologize and pedal that back a little bit and say, "Hey guys, I didn't really mean it that way," but it took off from there. And
I kind of embrace it.
Yeah, I embrace it a little. Yeah,
I think it's. I mean, I had seen a few years ago, because the term was floating around in my head. I was always wondering, you know, seeing what Mgtow philosophy was, I was starting to think, you know, okay, I'm curious, what is the difference between Mgtow and, you know, the monks of ancient times? You know, basically it's kind of sounds like the same thing. And then the conversation came up, and as you say, they call us monks and everything. But I think I don't really see any problem with it, because like, what aspect of monkhood would you say conflicts with your conceptualization of Mgtow? Like,
yeah,
what? I don't see much.
None of them conflict. Yeah, we looked at it, did the video on the monks of Athos. These guys,
I love that.
These guys live longer. They live, you know, you can look at the demographics of the men that are living the longest in the world. In the month of Athos lived like 10 years longer than your average doctor, which lives the longest time.
I don't think that's the point, though, because if your life is miserable, obviously you don't want a long life. But I think the point was, these guys, they were very, very content. I mean, they were there on a little. On the verge, on a little town built on the verge of a cliff face, and they're all by themselves. They come from all professions, but you know, these guys, you know, they're very well educated. They're not like idiots that were like down and out drunk or come out of prison and they found religion. No, these guys are very, very
educated.
They're very educated, very articulate. Anybody that hasn't seen the monk of I think it's pronounced Athos, isn't it?
Athos, yeah.
You know. Yeah, there's one thing, I guess the one thing I would say about the monk thing, the potential, if there's a potential issue, like if you think about what you're saying with the monk, you know, what they were, they're just these guys who left and did their own thing. and essentially all that, like basically monks, they seek knowledge. They're about philosophy, self-development, self-ownership. So, and they're not affected by all the bullshit. So all that stuff is totally true. But there might be. Is there an aspect to monkhood where they kind of develop these sacred cows like any other religion, where they kind of have these
Objects of worship.
Yeah, that kind of, because I don't really know a lot about it.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think anybody's even been inclined to suggest anything like that, because
you know what you know what they exclude in that whole thing? They look at the monks of Athos in the media, and they go, look at their diet. They're vegans, and they're not vegans. I explained that they're not vegans. They eat fish, and they eat certain things. It has to do with what they can get and what they can't get. The only thing they've excluded from their lives that reduces stress totally down to almost nothing, and they live longer, is what?
Gyno. The gyno.
The gyno. They've excluded the gyno totally 100% without knowing it, and it may be inadvertently, and pretty much I think that it's they did it on purpose, because they know if we let women on this island, if we let women in our life, it's going to provide us with one thing: stress.
Good point. That's well said. I agree with that.
Going back to your point, male feelings, I think most people in Mgtow, everyone in Mgtow, they have got different gods, or my term gods, in that.
Yeah.
What they perceive will be the objects that will make them happy. Their goal. I don't think Mgtow tells you where your goal is or what your god is. I think for many men, they come in here with a lot of different backgrounds, with a lot of different beliefs, and they don't need to drop their beliefs once they get into Mgtow. I think the only beliefs they drop is how special women are, or the position of women, and the position of themselves as well.
That's fair enough. Like I said, it's just sort of like it's just a rough idea that putting out there, but and I agree. Like, there's no hard line to take against people of any mindset. But everyone's welcome. I completely agree.
Wait a second.
But in the long run, like if you say that you're like a Christian, or you say you're a Catholic or whatever, right? In the long run, like, what does that really mean? Because most of the ritual of actually practicing Catholicism or whatever revolves around family and women and family life. So what I would say to that is I don't criticize anybody to want to be coming from a place of religion and then trying to meld it with Mgtow. That's totally fine. I'm not critical of anyone, but I do think that, like, logically, in the long run, it's rather inconsistent.
Well, that's something they're going to have to sort out, and I'm sure there's Christian Mgtow groups trying to sort that out, and Muslim Mgtow groups trying to sort that out.
What's common with all the religions, and it's okay to take any religion. I don't really care what anybody's religion is, but what's common to the most religions is meditation. And you can say meditation and prayer, meditation to the gods, stress relief, meditation, and they all practice it.
Yeah.
In some way, shape, or form, they meditate and they de-stress, and it's very healthy to do that. When you look at it a very scientific way, things, what it simply does, it gets you in touch with yourself. You do an introspection about what's wrong in your life. You meditate on some higher power, whatever you choose as your higher power, and that can be even a Harley if you want it to be. And you know what, guys? Mgtow, in its sense, can be your higher power if you choose that for yourself. And you meditate, you do these things, you're going to live longer, you're going to live healthier, you're going to live happier.
One thing I would like to add to that, though, male feelings, because he's brought up a really good point there. But I think one problem we do face in Mgtow is it's the same that any online group that gets to a certain point, gets to a certain size, they suffer from, and that's idol worship. That's when they take certain channels as gospel, and they're no longer thinking rationally or reasonably or even critically, and they're saying, well, whatever this channel says is gospel. I think we do suffer a little bit from that.
Yeah, those sacred cows, it's a natural. See, as Mgtow, this is what I'd love to see. I would love to see us be, it's about self-awareness. So we become aware of how we were misprogrammed and how we do stupid things ourselves. But there's also the group dynamic, right? So groups have their own dynamics, and so if we can also be aware of dysfunctional group dynamics, like what you're talking about right there, which is, these things do tend to develop. It just kind of happens. If we can, be aware of that and manage it out of the equation, then we'll be in good shape.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Like you can kind of see those things developing and kind of nip them. As Messenger does that a lot. He's always like, these cunts are becoming psychophants for this Mgtow or that Mgtow, and it's like, be your own Mgtow.
Yeah, be your own Mgtow. There's a lot of there's a lot of different Mgtow groups out here, and I don't say one's the only thing you can't be is a woman.
Ours is the best, forget the rest.
Yeah,
There's the monks are the best Mgtow.
Yeah, we're practicing the sacred Mgtows. Yeah. What is that? From the Book of Mgtowises.
Mgtowisms, yeah.
Going back to your point of meditation, I mean that's different for each person. I mean, meditation, it doesn't necessarily have to come in the form of prayer or chanting, which I'm sure a lot of people's mind they've conjured up that image. I think I would describe it as mental exercise as well. Having a train of thought that would lead you into a more emotionally centered or a more relaxed or more focused mental state. I think that's how I would interpret meditation.
I agree with that, and to the what I was going to follow up on Traversable's comment about that is, if you can take the good things from religion like meditation and some other certain things and leave behind the gynocentrism, then you may very well be better off. So I don't disparage religion. We all have a guiding philosophy. That's fine.
Blasphemy. Yeah. well, I've said that from the beginning. Whatever you find that we offer from any other channels, just take the good and leave the bad. Yeah. I mean, how more simple could it be? I mean, if you find something that you find is harmful or destructive, and let's face it, we're all in different environments, we're all in different circumstances, and we're all going to go through different events, and not every concept or idea is going to fit into your circumstance. So take the good and leave the bad.
Yeah, we like to package as humans. We like to package things in nice little neat boxes that fit our that fit our narrative, that fit how we do things in life and everything. That's fine. You can get that in Mgtow. It packages your life up very neatly, so you can go out there in society and be successful without having some gynocentric or female just extracting everything from you. It's a neat little package that works.
Oh yeah. Sorry to interrupt, but Badass Dan makes a good point there. I mean, because Male Feelings, your point was that Islam, Christianity, and Judaism is gynocentric. I didn't actually think very much on that, but Badass makes a really good point, and that's actually in the Gospel, the Torah, and the Quran. It actually puts women at a lot lower status than we do in the West. Actually, those three religions are actually less gynocentric than our current situation. So, yeah,
that's a very good point. I have to admit and stand corrected on that. I guess if I could find some integrity there, I would say the more literal interpretation, I would say, is less gynocentric, or maybe not even, whereas sort of the modern interpretation and the way it's practiced, I think, is obviously pretty gynocentric. But yeah, I completely concede that. Thank you. Thanks for clearing that up.
Yeah, there's the chat's really going on down there. I think them guys are having more fun than the three of us.
Well,
we need to get into the chat.
Into the chat. So Turd Flinging Monkey jumped in here, and it's give a shout out to Turd. He did a video last night that I was actually kind of thinking about, and maybe now is a good time to bring it up. So he was talking traditionalism and feminism, two sides of the same coin, right?
Yeah.
Two sides of the same coin, and he did a great job of spelling that out, and that's so true. Now, the question becomes: is there any way to get away from those two paradigms? the traditional gynocentrism versus the modern feminist gynocentrism. It's all the same. It's all the same shit. So if you consider how much history has been gynocentric, you have to raise the question: is it even practical? Is there another way that we can organize things and do things? So, that being said, I just wanted to submit to TFM and everybody the idea of sort of the classical civilizations like Greece and Rome, particularly Greece. I have an understanding on one hand that it was sort of gynocentric, but on the other hand that it was like sort of males transcending, females, and to where they valued the male, and that had a lot to do with their success as civilization. You guys think that we can draw on the classic civilizations like Greece and Rome to give us some direction in how to go not fall back into traditionalism and obviously get away from feminism,
Yeah, that's a tough question. I think that's what we're searching about here. When we look at those societies, they were based on farming. They were based on the traditional, what we would call the traditional economics, which you had a farm, and then you had people that needed from that farm. And now we have sort of government farms, and we have the government running this, the government regulating your food, how it comes to your house, how these things work, and it's all very gynocentrically driven, so that the gynocentric gets to cut off a little chunk here, a little chunk there, and how do we get? Yeah, well, that would be a vention thing, wouldn't it? Like, okay, now I can grow in my quarter acre or my acre or my half acre. I can take from that system. I can can my own food. I can grow them. I can't farm some farm animals, so I might as well have to work within the system on that and barter for it. And every time you buy something, what you're doing is bribing someone for that product. Money is just simply a bribe. So we have to ask ourselves is how we can trade, how we can bribe, how we can do those things amongst men, and then kind of cut the gynocentric out of that. Is that the question that he was asking, you think?
Yeah, that's a good way of getting at it.
The trade. The men always do the trade. From the time we're kids, we learn how to trade baseball cards. We learn how to trade, cards and Yu-Gi-Oh cards now, and we learn how to do those things to try to get more value out of what you got. And I think men have to start doing the trade again.
Yeah. So you're saying that they insert themselves in like a middleman and they skim. The gynocentric takes its cut, right?
Yeah, the gynocentric and the government, they take their cut. They want their cut off of everything. And we were talking about this when we first started about the IRS. They come in and they just want their cut, and where they can get their bigger cut from is that's who they'll tend to support.
Absolutely, and this is where I think, so how do you prevent them from skimming and taking their cut? And so there's two things that I think, there's just two basic principles that come into play. The first one is, as long as there's nothing to take a cut from, that is to say, as long as everything is like subsistence and bare bones, then women can't really parasite off of males, in a sense. But as soon as you produce any wealth in a society, then that gynocentric comes in to skim it. And so the point is, you got to make the connection between surplus and corruption. As soon as there's a surplus, you're going to have corruption.
Right.
And there's been one, this is just my sort of proposal, that in all of history there's been one solution to that problem, and that is private property rights. So when men are trading and exchanging and doing things, there is a legal recognition that that shit belongs to them, and to the extent that property right is upheld and not infringed, then you don't have the gynocentric, because it can't. That's the only way to starve it, is to uphold the private personal property rights.
Yeah, it would start from there, and then you could do simple things at home as a Mgtow. I do it all the time, and I talk about it all the time. I roast my own coffee. That takes, every time I drink a cup of coffee, it takes a buck every morning out of the Starbucks. You know, I don't have to buy that Starbucks coffee, and I don't have to buy this coffee that's already made. I do that. I produce my own. I don't produce my own meat. I grind my own meat. I grind my own hamburger. I make my own sausage. I do things like that, and then the cost goes down, so the government's not getting half those taxes on that.
Totally.
Making your own bread. If you live in a southern state, if you smoke, you can do your, you know, that's a big revenue for the government. If you smoke, try to figure out how to smoke at a lower cost, taking revenue out of the government's hands, which takes the revenue out of the gynocentrics' hands. Everything you do, make your own bagels. I did a video on Mgtow bagels. I don't have to go to the store, buy it at some woman sitting behind a counter that bakes the bagels, and that's a major part of the gynocentric. There is cooking. They perceive their task in this life is cooking and doing that for us, and so we take the bakers out of there. You start making your own bread. You start making your own. We can all do this in a certain way. It's fun to do it. One, it gives you something to do. We'll talk about that loneliness. You can do it. It becomes a hobby to do some of these things.
To be independent.
Independent. Now you start growing your own food in your backyard. You know, we all know that we don't have 2 acres to grow our own wheat, most of us, you know, but we can do little things every day to snip at that, to just cut those strings that hold us and bind us.
Absolutely. Starve them as best you can.
Cut
the
out.
cord,
Yeah,
man.
cut the cord. Starve them out. Do those things all those little things, all those little quarters that you save and put back in your pocket. They become this mass wealth within Mgtow that we can start doing our own thing, and then we can start doing the trade. You know.
Completely. Yeah. When you start to realize that they're just, to the extent that you engage the system at every little exchange and interchange, they can skim off of that, you know. So it's like, basically, I've just been thinking recently how the government essentially is sucking up all of the wealth that is created in the society, right?
Yes.
Because I mean, we talk a lot about taxes, you and I, Traversable.
Oh yeah.
And I've actually expanded it even farther. So when they're taxing you federally at 30 to 40%, right, and then state another 10 to 15%, that's already almost 50% right there. And then you have sales tax on top of that, it's another 7 to 10%. So you're already past 50 no matter what. And then that doesn't even touch property taxes. It doesn't touch your registration and fees up the ass, and
right. Fees
tickets.
Don't bother me. Yeah, tickets, and then the road taxes. Right. Yeah, go ahead.
So there, yeah. So I mean, that's you're already at like 50, 60%. And then what I think people don't actually, we don't often think about is, then on top of that, they're taxing the corporation, right? So they're taxing corporations, which our money comes from. So there's only a certain amount of money, and if you're taxing it at different places, so I'm just saying, you get paid by a company. If that company got taxed at 20%, well, you're going to get a lot less. You know, that's coming out of your pay to some extent, right?
Yeah.
So you're already paying 60% directly. And then indirectly, you're paying, you know, another 10, 15, 20 corporate tax. You're paying, you know, for the excise taxes and all the trade taxes. Essentially, all the wealth is sucked up into the tax. So it's confiscation of wealth, and that's just when I say the core thing at the center of gynocentrism that we've lost is respect for private property. So taxes are an assault on private property, right? And taxes, and then all these other things that they throw in there, the ways that they steal money, like a divorce. It's just another way of,
right.
It's not respecting private property. When you can make a fake law that we can take men's stuff because they got married, that's a complete assault on private property. It's confiscation, right?
Yeah. I don't think a lot of guys, my last video when I put up, you know, a lot of guys don't know him, Johnny Manziel. The judge just fined Johnny Manziel $12,000 for a TPO, a temporary temporary protection order against a girlfriend that was stalking him. But the judge fined this guy $12,000. He's got to pay this for what? For signing a piece of paper? So, yeah, they do this. If you're rich, or like he is, obviously he's got money. These things become. They go from a $500 fine on a TPO for regular guys like me and you,
Right.
that any woman can get any second of the day by just saying, "Oh, he was argumentative," and that's what the argument was. He was argumentative with me.
And that's why they raised it to 12,000.
$12,000. This judge is saying that he owes the government now. It's those little, like you were saying, these little. They learn how to take money from men, and these little things that they do. It's over and over. But we as Mgtows, we see these things now. Spotting them is the first thing. Once you spot a tax, a hidden tax on you, a single bachelor tax is what you can call it.
That's what it is. It's exactly what it is.
Clip it. Get that out of your life. Make sure it doesn't reoccur in your life. Like I don't drive anymore. Do you know how much money that saves me a year by not driving?
Tons. Yeah.
Tons. When I worked out how much it costs for a bus ride or a cab drive here, if I want to go out, or someone else coming to pick me up, or just doing, I save literally, $5,000-6,000 a year that the government, the insurance company is not going to see, and that's another tax. Your insurance is another forced tax on you. They're not getting those tags and those plates, which is another forced tax. Gasoline, they're making tons of money from gasoline taxes. You're going to save a lot by just figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
Outside of the system, go Galt.
You have to deprive them of all those little paper cuts. They're bleeding you with the paper cuts.
Yeah, death by 1,000 cuts.
And then, yeah, just driving. They've made it. They want to get you so you could kind of rely on something like driving or roads or cars, and then they just jack it up and suck all the money out of you because you're like dependent on your car. But I've been thinking a lot about ways to get around having, kind of get rid of my car, or at least use it a lot less,
Yeah, if you can reduce your insurance to a certain sum, just take it and just reduce how much you drive.
Right.
You don't have to get rid of it. I still have my license, and once in a while I just like to go jump in. If it snows, I just like to go jump in the Jeep and just go through a couple snowbanks because that's just fucking fun. So I keep my license around, and but I reduce it to the bare minimum, what I need to do, and then that's the part of going Galt around here. That's what from the original inception of Mgtow, what going Galt was a big idea. You just deprive the system, every little thing, any little thing you spot.
Exactly. There's and they make it hard because they try and block you off and make it impossible. But
yeah, my friend of mine used to say they're going to hem you up.
Well, fuck Gil, he makes the point that Mgtow are not going to make that unless a Mgtow creates a full-size counterculture. He says it's not going to subvert the system. But I would argue that Mgtow is a counterculture, and
it is a counterculture.
And the fact that we've got SK Gdanshi over in Japan, and how they flipped. Let's face it, these group of men who have now epidemic numbers, they flipped the Japanese culture on its head. I mean, it's totally unusual to have what we would consider a normal relationship, and they flipped the entire narrative on their side. So the government's now talking about, well, how do we deal with this? How do we handle it? And the fact that the government are refusing to acknowledge what the real problem is, and they're blaming it. They're still blaming it on men. They're saying it's men's fault, and it's actually women that are going away from men. This is what the government is saying publicly, not the other way around. Obviously, that's not addressing their problems. I think the fact that Mgtow is also growing. I think we have a counterculture. I would say it is now the Western culture for men to sort of at least at least PUA, I would say. At least not marriage. I think marriage is getting more and more taboo in the West, I'd say, and that's the culture.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've seen
Yeah.
I've seen a ton of anti-marriage thing. There was just on a Bleacher Report. I go to Bleacher Report to get my sports news, and there was an article on the guy that just spent $30,000 on Super Bowl tickets without asking his wife. That was the big story. He had to ask his wife, and I thought, well, the guy could do that. He bought 4 tickets, and I said, my immediate response was, what were the other 3 tickets for? Why didn't he just buy one? If he was Mgtow, he'd have just bought 1 ticket.
Yeah. And you see, I guess to mention the other TFM's video yesterday on the what China, I do believe it does seem that China probably is looking at Japan and they're saying, oh, the men are walking away, and so we got to try and convince them. We got to try and instill masculinity, right?
Masculinity.
Yeah, I need to watch that video where everyone's talking about it. Apparently, it's an epic video.
It was good. I mean, I think it was spot on. I read the article yesterday, and then there was the video, and it explores it because we got to be careful. I think we got to be careful because I think you could have the initial reaction as a Mgtow and say, "Oh, cool, China is embracing masculinity, right?" And that might be your surface reaction, but you got to be careful because language is always fucked up, and so they'll fuck up language. What kind of masculinity? So they're talking about traditional masculinity, right? They're not talking about like our kind of masculinity. So of course they're just trying to force men back into woman
roles,
gyno slavery. Yeah, exactly.
Gyno slavery. Yeah. Oh.
Well, I was just looking at the UK population numbers on the ons.gov.uk, the Office of National Statistics, and another alert popped up from the newspaper, from the Guardian newspaper, one of the bigger newspapers in the UK, and you won't believe this, guys. Well, anyway, it seems like the UK population actually stalled. We're still apparently below 65 million. Now, that's actually not a lot, because the Guardian, I remember reading a article about 10 years ago when I was at college. I remember reading an article 10 years ago where they said it was going to be 80 million by the 2015. So the fact that it's 65 million, I think I think there is a noticeable change in the culture, at least I think in the Western culture. I think things are starting to look slightly different, and if things carry on,
it is noticeable. Our message is getting through, isn't it?
It seems like it. It seems like it, and I mean, you can really perceive it on lower levels. Like again, to some extent, I'll just put this out there, and I don't want to overstate it, but to some extent, on a day-to-day level, when I interacting with females, you can kind of get a sense that they sense something is in the air, and there's a little bit of an attitude shift. It's not overwhelming yet, but like
it's not just it's not just the message. It's not just the Mgtow message getting out. I think it's just so destructive now for men. It's just so harmful for men now. I think the just getting married and having a family, it's just impossible. It's just it doesn't matter how well-meaning you are, or how intentioned you are. If you do it, or even if you're a young guy and you see what's happened to your father, see what's happened to your uncle, and so forth. I mean, I think people just in the West are looking around and they're saying, you know what, I'm going to do things a little differently. I think the idea of traditional marriage is just gone, I think.
It should be. It's just so corrupt. It's so corrupt that the only situation where females are really kind of reasonable marriage partners is in a subsistence society where they don't have any opportunity to basically betray you. But other than that, it's just like it's a guaranteed loss. So
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I think this the system is rigged so it's on self-destruct. I mean, if things carry on, I mean, men. I mean, you can't bring up a society like this. You can't bring up a family without a father. You can't have a community without families, and you can't have a society without a community.
Yeah, I think that's one thing everybody agrees on. Traditionalists or gynos, even feminism seems to agree on it. You have to have well, to a lesser part, but you have to have a father there, and it's one of the things that we often say in Mgtow is there's a real need for men around these boys, and it kind of rubs against Mgtow a little because we're not supposed to be thinking about those traditional relationships area, but that in itself, the statement that they're catching on that, hey, men are important.
It's not just fathers though. It's like everywhere. It's like there's no male teachers anymore. There's no male counselors. There's no male social workers.
Right.
You know, men in general are beginning to disappear.
Right.
It sounds like a conspiracy, but I think any Mgtow that's been around for long enough, they're beginning to see, you know, spot the news reports and the documentaries that are popping up with these phenomena called man deserts. I mean,
isn't that interesting that even the replacement father is going away now? The teachers, the stepfather,
the male role model,
they're
beginning to vanish.
Yeah, they're vanishing. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. The you know, I mean, just in a broad sense, I like to kind of think about this sometimes, like the female. See what you guys think about this, but the female basically, the gynocentric is always driving society towards something like a colonial insect, like a termite society, or an ant colony, a bee colony. The female, the gynocentric, is always going to be pushing and driving society to be like that. So what they've got now, they've succeeded in basically crushing males into these little drones, and that's what they want. Just like TFM always uses the bonobos. It's a good example.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, you have like we're human and we're males, you know, we're not drones, we're actually just we're like human beings, and that's more the male, you know, that's the male thing. And so it's always this tug of war. I don't know why I got on this, but
yeah. I kind of look at that bee movie, you know, the bee movie. You said beehives, or with the cartoon.
Jerry Seinfeld?
Yeah, the cartoon where he is the bee and he says, his mother and father said, well, you're going to grow up to be the bee producer, the honey producer, you're going to do this. And he goes, nah. He was doing a very Mgtow thing, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, nah, I think I want to be a flute player or a pianist. So whatever he chose, you know, he's like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go make honey. I don't want to, you know?
That's a perfect example. Yeah, exactly. He said no to being a drone bee. Yeah. That's the genesis of masculinity. Say no.
Just say no. Question it. Question everything, man.
So you want to review Thingy's book, Patton's book?
Okay. Did you
read it?
I read 7 chapters of it.
Wow.
And there's some things that, you know, in chapter
well, let's go for the contents, and then you can give the people your little review. So in the contents we've got what is Mgtow, patriarchy has no gender, masculinity, individual power, the girl who cried, rape. That sounds like an interesting chapter. Budget your way to more wealth, seek and you shall find that perfect someone. The money savers, number 10, from money savers to money makers. 11, too high a cost, the future of real estate, planning for more out of the whole Mgtow investing. The world of markets, choosing a financial partner, the right target, yields and returns, putting your money to work, keeping tabs on your future when things go wrong. Don't forget the tax man, and Nicholas gets lucky. That's the contents there. Shall I read the intro?
If you want to read the intro, let me pull it up here.
All right. Introduction. Mgtow, building wealth and power, is both a celebration of modern masculinity and a practical guide to ensuring that men like us experience long-term contentment and have a better financial future. Inside this book are investing techniques that work, paying homage to the massive social movement of men, which is ending entanglements and enhancing happiness through bachelorhood. This book features empowering insights on patriarchy, power, masculinity, and the ancient secrets of creativity, as well as practical strategies for managing our money and building wealth. Also included are two campfire tales for our ears only that offers lessons on reorientating ourselves towards a more productive and enlightened existence. Men are the most remarkable and innovative beings on earth. We have harnessed every aspect of our world, from controlling fire to landing a space probe on a live comet. It is the author's hope that this book inspires you to draw on its innate power and help yourselves to live a better life. There's no doubt that each oh, he's done a mistake there.
Yeah, I noticed
each of us
typos.
yeah, there's a couple of mistakes. Each of us can tackle the goals we've dreamed of and longed for, but this is hard to achieve without taking certain steps. Throughout history, having sufficient resources, money, has allowed men to be free and powerful. Inside is encouragement for all of you to budget, save, and invest. So what did you think of that, Trav?
Yeah, that's very good. He goes into that was the introduction there.
That was just the introduction. I was going to read.
Yeah.
I was going to read chapter 1 and chapter 2. I've got it here, but I'll let you do it instead.
Yeah, it's a very good introduction, and he goes into what is Mgtow in the next chapter, and he gives the red pill philosophy that's formed from the Matrix. We all know that, and he goes over briefly what Mgtow is, but he at this point I noticed there was a little common myth. He does these common myths about men's is Mgtow men right? It's a splitter unit of men's rights, and then are we sexless creatures? To some, yes. To some, no. In the monk traditionalism, so the monk societies, I mean, yes, we are sexless creatures, but it gives me this idea of apologetics when I went over that, and I hate when Mgtows apologize for being Mgtows. We're not asking permission to be Mgtows.
Right.
And Chapter 2, patriarchy has no gender. Yeah. Ooh, yeah.
Shall I read that over? Because I've got it here in front of me.
You got patriarchy has no gender in front of you?
I've got chapter 2. You want me to read chapter 2?
Yeah, let's go.
It's quite short. It's not. I think I'll read some. I'll read
a little bit.
Okay, chapter 2. Patriarchy has no gender. How patriarchy fucked men up. Welcome, Mgtow, bachelors, herbivore men, and curious others. Before journeying into our own millionairehood, we'll examine a shared brotherhood, patriarchy. We'll delve into masculinity, Mgtow character tools, and speed through Jaden's college romance, and then start counting our cash. For as long as humanity has existed, we men have been under pressure to measure up to impossible standards of masculinity. We're raised to be strong, powerful, and athletic. We're expected to be wealthy and emotionless. When we don't or won't live up to these fabricated standards, we run the risks of damaging our sense of self-worth. Even worse, the pressure to live up to an idealized version of manhood can invoke great stress and bring about intense feelings of shame, anxiety, depression, and in the most extreme cases can invoke suicidal tendencies.
Oh, yeah, that's it. He goes on. He gives a lot of good reasons. You hear these reasons a lot. Culture, history of men, the cost of being her king. We hear that a lot. If you read this, I don't want to go too far into the book and give it away. This book is 99 cents or $1.99 on Kindle if you want it. To go get it, and you can buy the hardcover for like $13. No big deal. You can get it and read it. So.
Did you find it? Was it good? Was it insightful?
It's very insightful. He actually he does probably the Raleigh Masamito thing where he hangs around Mgtow and he takes a lot of the ideas, and there in this chapter alone there's like 13, 14 ideas about finding manhood, Patriarchy is a myth, and it is a myth. It really is. It's a myth that they need, because they need an. I always say that feminism needs an enemy, don't they?
Yeah, just like a government. Yeah.
Yeah. If they, without an enemy, does Mgtow need an enemy? And that's why I always say don't take, that MRA AVFM stance on fighting and pruning feminists, because Mgtow doesn't need an enemy. We're going to do what we're going to do regardless. And we're not asking for...
We're independent agents. We create our own destiny.
Right. Our agency is our own. And then the masculinity, the next chapter 3, goes into masculinity and violent, the culture of violent masculinity, militant masculinity, social masculinity, question everything. And we've talked about this a lot, don't we? Question everything. Men and boys love to explore and question the universe around them.
Yeah.
We were talking about that earlier. Just question when you come in the Mgtow, you turn off that TV, and he goes into explaining that a little bit in this, turning off that social media, turn off that TV, and start questioning everything. And
yeah, that brings up I think a great topic there that I think has been swirling around, because he's analyzing masculinity, and I think that's a great thing. There's what do you guys think is masculinity? Because there's so many things that it's not, right? There's all these fake things that it's been associated with over the ages, like, all the things you just mentioned, like the toxic things, the fighting and protecting women, and all these retarded things that are not really, those are all derivative, fake associations. They're fake. So then if you get rid of all that, what's left over that, that actually is masculine? Do you guys have a sense of that, or is it even, maybe it's not even like an important word? Like, does masculinity even mean anything? Maybe it's just kind of like an unimportant word.
Yeah, maybe it is just an unimportant word, because when you label something that we were talking about earlier, when we get a label, that label's forced on us. Someone else's idea of masculinity is forced on you at that point.
Right.
We just turn away from that, and we walk away like we walk away from everything. Whatever your personal masculinity is personal to everybody. What you value as masculine, and every man's value is different. I value what I value. I can't really articulate it into a form or a shape. It's just the way I act, how I perceive the world. When I go out that door, how I impact things. That's masculine. Masculine is how you impact things. When you walk into a room, how everybody in the room automatically assumes that you're the alpha, you're the leader. There's no doubt about a man just walked in.
Okay. Yeah. So it's sort of, it's like ethereal. It just kind of is, right?
Yeah, it's just how your reaction and your impact on this world. I would think that would be more of a masculine idea. We're so powerful, aren't we? We impact everything, every place we go. We can impact it positively. We can draw these. We can take small things and make them huge. We build buildings. We build, just a couple guys get together, and all of a sudden you're looking at something beautiful that they built, and it makes a real impact. Our footprint. What footprint did you want to leave on this world as a man?
Yeah, we're getting a lot of good. The footprint. There's a lot of good comments in the thing right now. They're talking about like masculinity is the will to power. Veritech A says.
Yeah. Now that goes into the next chapter, which he puts together very nicely. Individual power.
Individual power.
How do you so much of our power is broken down from when we are boys, and they start putting us on pills, because we're running around the classroom. He goes into the mental health characteristics. He goes, and don't grow up, because that's what they want you to do. Be the man's strength and courage. Mastery practices, and practice. We've talked about this a few more times. Practice makes perfect. You're not gonna. Sometimes, most of the time, you're not gonna succeed in something the first time you do it, but you're gonna learn how not to fail at something. And as a man,
Right.
we keep going from these steps. We shed that. We forget about that loss. We forget about that failure, and we learn from that failure. We have the strength and courage to move on and start a new segment of our lives. Men do segments of their lives. Winninger, anybody that talks about men will tell you we do these things in phases, and then we move on to the next, and we start succeeding at those things.
Right. Goal oriented and all that.
Goal oriented, how to solve your problems. He has a little paragraph here about how you solve your problems, creating a reality with an intention, with force. He has a bunch of steps here on this. If I can get this, step 1, we must orient ourselves towards employing intentional muscle, the intention muscle. He talks about an intention muscle, that we have intentions on doing these things. We set forth our goals, and it's becoming goal-oriented. Step 2, what our intentions are, pondering. We think about them. We give them momentum. Step 3, we encourage our brain to act. They're putting together pieces of a puzzle, and it is pieces of a puzzle, because the school is so letting down boys on how to put all these pieces together and how to become successful in their lives, and they want us to just be good little drones.
So,
Right.
would you recommend this book then?
Would I recommend? Yes.
$5. I think it's $5 on Amazon. So you guys want to check out Tim's book?
Yeah,
$5.
I would definitely recommend it. It's for every new Mgtow. Yeah, I would recommend it.
It's $5 on Kindle, $12 on paperback. But yeah, or you can just steal it if you see it in a shop, guys. So that's the you won't see it in a shop, are you?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think you're going to see it at your local dollar store on the book. Mgtow sitting there. No, they're not going to let that happen. So it is a very good book, and it gives us a lot to discuss, a lot to talk about.
So did you guys see any movies this week?
Movies. I did order one, and I already forgot what it was. It was so boring.
National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did see Regression this week. Anybody that's keeps their eye on IMDb will know that Regression has got Mayor of Midtown's favorite actress, Emma. What's her name? What was that?
Watson.
Emma Watson. That's
Emma
it.
Watson. Oh God, she's in a new movie.
Yeah, she's in Regression, and the trailer shows Emma Watson accusing her father of raping her. So it's one of those films, and the plot thickens, and then apparently she was part of a religious cult that would ritually rape her and torture her, and she runs off and finds refuge in a church, and the entire film is about how people can do something so tragic that they'll bury the memory so deep inside that they'll forget what happened. Now, what's interesting is it's actually based on actual events, and it's based on the psychological technique of bringing out these regressions, these buried emotions. But guys, I would recommend it because it's not what you think. The film is based around the premise that the technique, the psychological technique, is actually all hocus pocus, and what you actually do is you implant or you suggest memories that they didn't actually exist, and she just made the entire thing up. It was all just a false accusation. So her father's serving time in prison, crime he didn't do. She's making all this shit up. The psychologist, he's been put into question because it turns out the police detective investigates, and it turns out that it was all made up, and all the evidence points to the fact that she's totally bullshitting. Yeah, check it out, guys. I'm sure I'm sure a lot of feminists went there thinking they'd see another horrific male car crash of a film, but yeah, it's all about false accusations.
Okay. Yeah,
Wow.
Kevin talks about this, about regressive therapy and how feminists were using that to implant false memories, and they were doing this in a lot of divorce situations too, where I had a video on this where they will talk the girl into thinking that he's the bad guy, he's beating you, he's doing this, he's raping you, and they use regressive therapy and feminism to implant false memories in a lot of feminists.
No, the worst thing is they do it to the kids. Anybody that's been through family court will know
Yeah.
they do it to the children. It's like, oh, did your dad do this? Did your dad do this?
Did you? Yeah.
And they'll coax the children into, I thought they were making it up. But when you read the reports, when you read what the social workers, or I don't know what you call them over in the US, when you read what they write, how mothers and other professionals do it, they scare the children into putting the victim, normally it's the father, into a nightmare scenario, so the child will be scared of the father, where before he never or she would never was.
Right.
It's really upsetting, very upsetting,
Yeah.
very, very sad. Yeah,
Maybe
but a lot of people went to see this film thinking it'd be another male bashing film, but no, check it out, guys. Emma, what's she calling there? Emma Twatson, or what's his calling?
Yeah.
And TFM saying, I will never, ever see a Emma Watson movie.
Here, here. I can.
Yeah. But yeah, it's it's a film about false accusations.
So do you think that's is that like we were talking earlier? Is Mgtow permeating into the culture? Do you think that's a little bit of red pill permeating into the culture they're shining?
I hope so. I hope so, because it is a big problem. I mean, we're not just talking out of our arse here. I mean, a lot of us come into Mgtow, from very, very dark experiences with the system with women. It's not we're not kidding around. There's some really serious problems going around, and I mean, men going to prison and men committing suicide and children. Our society being brought up, it's totally messed up. I mean, come on. I mean,
Yeah.
the statistics themselves, they only tip of the iceberg. I mean, what we see outside on the street, the people we met, the children brought up by single mothers, just the type of problems they have. I think it's just so understated. I think it's just a huge problem, and everybody's dusting it underneath the carpet because either, number one, he's the father that's been beat up and broken by the society, so he doesn't even want to get up in the morning, never mind speak about it. Or number two, you're the woman that's collecting all the child support and all the monetary value, so you're benefiting from it. Or you're the government who's most responsible for all the shit that's going on.
It's the daddies for cash system. We've seen in Pennsylvania about they opened up a prison there for youth, and then before you know it, all the kids in the area were in that prison. It's the same corruption that goes around with daddies for cash. It's extracting the wealth from men through the divorce system and using very, very unscrupulous means to do that. But nobody in that blue pill world wants to look at those means, and the movie may enlighten a few people. Yeah.
Yeah, but another thing it points to is group. What's the word now? Group hysteria. It's like when an accusation flies out. I mean, we're so quick to believe men are evil, aren't we? We're so quick to believe this guy, he's guilty. And even as men, we're guilty of that. So quick to believe bad of another man. I'm glad to say gradually we're beginning to see more and more of the deception of women. But this film, it talks about group hysteria, when everybody's, basically like back in, I don't know, the 18th century, when we used to hunt witches and drown people for witchcraft and stuff like that. When the group hysteria follows a paedophile around, or a man that's been accused of raping his own daughter, it's like everybody believes it. So then people start inventing little incidences, and I think that's
Oh yeah.
You gotta weave that victim yarn somehow. They'll go to great lengths to paint, you know.
Yeah, I read a great book once about it. It's Tom Peralta's Little Children, about he was a perceived child rapist, and in his whole life it ended up killing his mother. It ended up killing the relationship. It ended up killing a lot of souls in the community, because they were all looking at this person as and whether he did it or whether he not became insignificant to the horror that led afterwards of the community overreacting, and the group psychology, and the group in France they call it a folie de something. I can't remember what it is now.
Well, it's a big problem. It's a big problem.
Yeah, the whole community starts acting that way.
Because it's such a problem now that men will specifically not go into certain careers, like for example, childcare. You will not find a man in any nursery or any a school teacher for very young kids, because of that fear of false the mere suggestion means he's guilty.
Oh, and then the playground police, if a man shows up at a playground with his kid, he's already, two of them will walk over and just kind of watch him, won't they?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a sad state of affairs, and I think this is what, this added to many other reasons is why a lot of men are just turning away from relationships altogether and going so Kachugadanshi, just like the and I think it's just going to carry on so long as the damage and the relationship toxicity just keeps on growing.
Yeah, there's a discussion in the chat a little bit about dominance and stuff, and overcoming the dominance instinct. And I've wanted to mention that when you guys think about dominance, do you think that driving males to be dominant is really it actually serves the female, even though like you're supposedly dominating her and dominating women, they're able to use that against you because they parasite off of your dominance. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, they automatically pull out the toxic masculinity card because it's dominance would be perceived as toxic. So while driving us to being dominant, they already automatically have the victim card to throw out there. The second step, they've already thought it through.
Exactly. They're already on the second step. See, they're playing chess.
Yeah,
then we got to play chess.
Yeah, we got to play chess. But Mgtow kind of, that's one of those things, you cut those strings, and I don't care about what they think. I don't care about what they're doing, because it matters in my life very little. So I cut that string, and if they come to you with that toxic masculinity thing, I say, no, my masculinity is fine.
Well, here's an interesting question. I mean, we've seen what effects now feminism or third wave, whatever, fourth wave feminism has had on society or on the Western culture or the West or whatever. Mm-hmm. But what effects do you think Mgtow will have if it continues to grow at this rate? What effects will Mgtow have on society, on culture, on America, on the UK?
I think I'm reminded by our discussion earlier of the monks. I think we can probably look at, in other words, you always want to look for precedent first, right? Because maybe what we're doing is completely brand new, but maybe there's a lot of similarities that have come before. So you might just take a look. What effect did the monks have on their societies, right? Was there any effect?
Yeah, I don't know if in some cases in history, yeah, but I think we learn from our. Well, we're so new. We're at some point here. Don't we have to just stop, have a Mgtow, a big Mgtow meeting, and say, where are we? What are we doing? What have we affected? Where would we like to go?
I can't see that happening.
Yeah, yeah.
I always point over to the. I know. This is like the 10th time we brought it up. Now I always like to point over to the Japanese guys over there and see what's happening over there. I would say that the population is going to decrease. Women are going to get a lot more desperate. I think sexuality is going to change a lot. I think men are going to be the ones that are the more laid back when it comes to sex and intimacy, and women are going to be the ones that are more anyone that's been to Korea, I think there was one Korean Mgtow somewhere, but anyone that's been to Korea, actually that's what the culture there is like. The women are the ones that normally approach the men. Apparently, allegedly, I hear.
Allegedly?
Allegedly, but I think it's going to happen over in the West too, and I think the population is going to decline. Men are going to be I don't know honestly.
Yeah.
TFM.
So, as we wade into the future here, I can't prognosticate what's going to happen with Mgtow and everything. I do know one thing's been working, and we just keep going with it. We just keep pushing forward, and no matter what they say, no matter what they do, having a tenacious attitude in Mgtow about pushing forward to wherever that's going is, and I don't know where it's going. We're so brand new. We can't prognosticate the future on this. Hopefully, the future will say that some of the alphas in our society, or some of what we call the leaders in our society, will start waking up to Mgtow. That's the eventual goal, isn't it?
I don't think that will happen, though. I don't think that will happen because the system is bigger than any man.
It's huge. It's bigger. Yeah, it's bigger than any single man. But we're not single. We're not.
But I mean, even the president, because even the president or prime minister cannot change the system. It's
we're a force now.
My biggest fear is that as women begin to see the shift, they change up their attitude. They put back on the nice girl masquerade, and everyone comes crawling back to the plantation.
I don't think so, because I don't think women are going to hand the mantle of authority back, and I don't think the government are going to take it from them. I think judges and people that really do care about their country and their society, they are trying to find like little loopholes where men can still keep in touch with their children and children can still be part of their men's lives. I think that's the smallest of it, but I really think that it's going to be a downfall of society, and I reckon another country is going to rise up, another less gynocentric society or nation is going to overtake the West as a superpower. Excuse me.
Yeah, the backdrop that females have is far superior than the backdrop males have. They don't experience consequences the same way we do. So anything we do that there will be a consequence, the government's going to pick up as the daddy provider, and there's going to be a backdrop from the fallen. But that backdrop continues to grow bigger and bigger and bigger and more costly.
As they confiscate male wealth.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to our question: how do we clip those strings of giving them that wealth? That's where we make the real effect at, because when they come to get the money ain't going to be there one day.
Exactly. That's the only way to do it. It's the only way to do it. You got to cut the money flow.
But also, I think an interesting side effect is that men are more minimalistic. I don't think men are chasing that American dream, so to speak. They're not as how would you put it? They're not as motivated.
They're not as motivated.
They're not as motivated as when they were chasing that orgasm.
Yeah, powered by orgasm isn't working anymore, because that orgasm isn't just that's all you're getting is MLM and bills.
Exactly.
And early death, right?
Early
I mean,
death,
like
yeah.
you said, you've dropped your car. I mean, Traversable, you've dropped your car. I mean, a car used to be the center of a man's world. I mean, after his house, the car would be what made the man the man. But you know, I'm absolutely on board with you. I think a lot of men are dropping their car. You know, they say, "Fuck it,
Yeah.
I'll ride my cycle. I'll walk.
Yeah,
You know,
ride your
I
cycle.
just won't go. Fuck
Yeah,
it."
yeah, fuck it. You know, the car in itself was when I first got a car, it was so important because I was going to get a blowjob in the back seat. That's why I got a car.
So do you see, everything changes, you know, because once men aren't orientated or their goals shift and they're not as oriented towards getting more, you know, it's not about trying to supply for a family anymore or try and impress a woman anymore. It's just about, you know, I'm happy, I'm comfortable. I work, you know, I work half the week. There's no need for me to do 49 hours anymore. I'll do 25.
Yeah, yeah, that's the ultimate goal for a man to cut his hours, and I've done that. I know you've done that. I see a messenger doing that right now, trying to cut back his hours and what he gives to society, and that's you know, having more time to go get his chicken wings and a beer, you know, after a 5-hour day. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
You guys, Shawnee, you want to like invite TFM's been pretty active in the chat. You might maybe invite him in here.
I sent him
yeah, I think he's choosing to lay back. I think we're intellectually intimidating for him. Us three mental giants would just poor little fella.
Yeah, I sent him an invitation already, and I sent out quite a few of them. If he didn't get that, he can let me know. If
we're pretty intimidating. It's true. That's you, Shawnee.
Look at him. He always uses that excuse. I'm working on school stuff. Oh yeah, put the other one.
60-hour weeks, huh? Wow, that's a long one.
60. I used to do those things. Did you used to do 60-hour weeks when you were younger? 60, 70, 2, 3 jobs when you had all that energy?
I did at one point have 2 jobs. In fact, as soon as I left, I was so eager to get into work. I mean, I think I started work at 16. I thought, you know what, school's not the way. Experience, you know, company bosses, they admire or they appreciate more the guy that's experienced. You know, he's got like years of work and stuff. So I sort of, you know, as soon as I finished my GCSEs that we have in the UK, I went looking for a job. So I started at 16, and then years later I saw everybody having a degree, getting into all the positions I thought that I'd be in. So
right,
yeah, you know, stay in university if you can, guys, or stay in college.
Yeah, it's become.
You can have a job in college too. There's many courses that you can take that is your job too. You get paid to do them, and you just stay around and learn. Sorry about interrupting you there.
No, not at all. TFM just said he gets paid to sit around and respond to YouTube comments, so I can't complain.
Hey, that's a good thing, you know. You use YouTube if you have a skill. Obviously, he does have a very good skill in YouTube and what he presents, and that's a good job. It's a job to do that. Do you take this as a job?
Who? Me?
Yeah. Do you in some kind of measure or you know, facet in your life?
My channel has always been about just for myself, really. I mean, if I didn't have any viewers, I'd still probably make videos. If I didn't have any subscribers, I'd still make it. It's all for me. But no, TFM, he's got like 18.5 subscribers, and hopefully there'll be more. You know, I'm wishing him. He's going to be like the biggest channel, the biggest men's oriented channel. Hopefully he'll go into the millions. I'm hoping.
Oh, hopefully, yeah. Yeah, but when I say I look at it as a job, like I'll get home and I'll say I can either cook my dinner or I can go out in the garage and tinker around, and I go, no, first I got to work on a video, and I put a very man-like attitude into this, like, okay, I got to do this first. I'll talk to the guys, answer my emails, I'll do this, and it becomes sort of a job to you. That I'm very, very dedicated. The same way I'd be with any job I do. I want to try to do it right, and I want to try to do it as manly as possible and get it done, and then do what I need to do. So in a way, it's unpaid work, but I'm used to unpaid work in life because most of my money in life has gone to taxes.
You worked for a woman for free your whole life
Yeah,
anyway.
I worked for women for free my whole life. Yeah, I'm very used to unpaid work.
Yeah. What do you guys think about YouTube as a wealth generating thing? Is there any potential there, or is it not realistic?
I think there's huge potential here if we start producing okay, let me use the coffee analogy. I make my own coffee. I know everything about making coffee. It's one of the things that I do now as a Mgtow. I roast my coffee. I get a green beans. If I would just put that in a package, label it, put it on my channel and ship it, or start selling it as Mgtow coffee for men only, I think that would work. A lot of guys would come and buy my coffee, and then it would become a Joe's coffee shop.
Yeah, they'd support you. That's right.
I think it's getting harder and harder though to make any type of living off YouTube. I know back in the early days, they were paying 10 times the amount they are now.
Yeah, they are.
I know back in the early days they were paying something like $1 generally for about 100 views, and now it's like $1 for generally for 1,000 views. I know it's all depending on the advertising revenue, but I'm hoping TFM is going to get that. He's going to break that past that 1 million subscriber base, so he's still got a little bit way to go. But
so he says it like it's very true that he will need 100K subs to make a decent living off of this. But if he looks into the merchandising area too, you can say, okay, if I can sell 70,000 TFM cups or 30,000 TFM cups, that reduces the amount of work I have to actually do.
What some channels are doing, and TFM, he pointed this out in his censorship video, which I think we touched upon last week. But I think if TFM is listening, you should go contact Marcus from Groundworks of Metaphysics of Mgtow. He's got a really good idea, and this is what some channels are doing. They're a collective of channels that have semi-corporate backing, where they'll promote certain products, and you see them. There's this. I was watching some YouTube channels about some DIY stuff, and they'll promote some companies' products, and they'll get a certain amount of sponsorship from that. So get it out.
Marcus was promoting that, doing it that route.
Yeah. That was Todd had the same idea, and that's what he was trying to do. And it goes back to when we kind of laughed about getting Mgtows together on one certain platform to discuss these things. Mgtows don't do that, do we? They're getting us all together is almost an impossible task.
Yeah, I think I'm a lot more optimistic when it concerns the Mgtow, man. I think we do get along. I mean, look, guys just jump on. They stay with us about a year or so, and a few stay longer. But generally, I think we really do get along. I mean, so long as we keep the women aside and we stick to those, toothy rules, and we don't talk about the things that, unfortunately, we always talk about, like religion and race and stuff like that. So long as that's kept to the side, I think men get along.
Okay.
Blindly.
You just remind me. What do you think? And so we're talking about kind of merchandising, publicity. Do you think the whole Roosh V thing is going to play is going to be good for him in the future, or do you think it's going to be negative? Because it's a lot of exposure, it's a lot of publicity that he's getting there. Can he turn that to a benefit, to a positive?
I think for him personally, it's going to do that, but I think it's horrible for the manosphere in general, because the whole media out there is looking at all of us like we're all Roosh V's, like we're all this rapists, and that's what he's putting out there. That's he's the poster boy for the MRM right now, and he's not a very good poster boy, is he?
I've not been following his stuff. I don't know what's going on with Roosh V, so I'd have to.
You haven't heard about all that?
I know he's going out doing tours and stuff, but I've not watched it. I don't watch Rolo. I don't know anything about Rolo
No,
Tomasi.
I don't follow him all at all either, but it's just been, I mean, it's been, you can't avoid like just the fact that the mainstream is basically, talking about Roosh, so that's a lot of exposure right there. A lot, Australia, a lot of the media outlets. So basically, instead of just being in the manosphere, he's getting a ton of exposure out there, and yeah, it's obviously, it's spun negative. He's a rapist and all that.
Well, the thing is, I mean, we talk about this now and again in Mgtow. What if Mgtow came out and it got bad press? I think generally to guys like us, who it wouldn't matter to us. I mean, if like the BBC exposed, we were afraid they were going to expose Mgtow as being like a white supremacist thing, a neo-Nazi thing. I mean, even if that happened, I think we'd still pretty much do what we do anyway. I mean, I don't think it would change. I mean, even if it all came out and Roosh somehow ignited this huge witch hunt of Mgtow and stuff like that, I don't think it'd make too much of a difference, really.
I tend to agree.
I think the guys that are after popularity, I think they would run for the hills.
He's a part of a bigger mass media assault on Mgtow, isn't he? Because we've seen Reggie Yates come around with that. Okay, he was going to try to spin it as neo-Nazism. Now we look around Mgtow now, and we have neo-Nazism. So they reminded us. They come around and they remind us that there is this problem in the world, and it becomes part of Mgtow, which there wasn't no problem with neo-Nazism or racism before they brought it up. So it was an assault on Mgtow. Roosh V is the same way. Mgtow's the idea of a Mgtow raping a woman is bizarre to me because he wouldn't even be with a woman to begin with.
Yeah, the idea of a Mgtow raping a feminist.
Yeah. Why would he
made that joke to me right at the beginning? I laughed for days. Mgtow raping a feminist.
Yeah, that's not the way Mgtow's act. Generally, we're better cultured, better mannered men. They're not saying that in the public to how good most of these men are, how most of these men are just they're not going to put themselves in those kind of situations. Hence, the end result is that won't happen.
Yeah, I don't really care what the media says. I think it's pretty irrelevant. So I think that it's only a plus in terms of the publicity and the exposure. I don't think the negative stuff they say has any real impact because.
Is it the Streisand? What is it? The Streisand result? Good press, bad press. It don't matter.
Exactly.
I think we all know. I think we're all sort of like apprehensive because we know the type of damage that mass media can make. I mean, we were just talking about group hysteria, having a witch hunt against Mgtow, and then maybe YouTube shutting down anything that hints about Mgtow. I mean, I don't see that. I mean, we just drop the label really, and we just talk about men's issues anyway. But
that's a good point. I'd kind of wanted to touch on that at some point today. The label, Mgtow, like, I think it's important to keep in mind that, again, it's like the sacred cow thing. The term Mgtow is useful to the point that it's useful, but it's never something to become like obsessed with or like, like the label itself, we don't need to obsess over it, but it's just sort of useful in conveying.
It makes me laugh, when guys say I'm leaving Mgtow, that makes me laugh.
It's just
you took it too seriously, it was just an abbreviation, it was just like a quick way to say, okay.
Exactly.
It's a neo-logoism that relays an idea. That's it.
Exactly. That's exactly how I look at it. Because you were talking about it the other day, Versable, and you're like, we did the video on labels and all that, and like labels or words, we use words because they kind of help describe things, right? Like a car is a car. You don't want to ban the word car. And then, Mgtow, but words do get perverted, and if people get obsessively then you have your different factions who are basically just fighting each other because of their different labels, religion or whatever it is, feminist, whatever. So you just got to go up the middle, and you got to use it to the point that it's constructive, but it's not like it's not this sacred thing. Mgtow conveys several ideas concisely, and that's really all what it's about.
Yeah, that's it. That's sometimes we have to embrace these labels too. Like, how would we fight the Roosh v rape culture label that they're trying to slap on us? Well, the honest way to do that would be saying embrace the monk label. No, Mgtows are more monkish. They're more
Sure.
they're better. We're better men. We're above that. We take the high road.
We're men. We're T1000 version of men.
Yeah, we're the T1000 version. Yeah. Was that a movie, T3000 or something like that?
It's the Terminator.
Terminator.
That was the model. Yeah.
That was the model T1000. Yeah, I like that.
and I do like whenever labels come up. TFN did mention here again, but I do think it's strategic for us to all adopt the label of transgender lesbian. I think that's a good strategy. We should be Mgtow, amongst ourselves, but to society, we should present ourselves as transgender lesbians, and we can start, benefiting from all the benefits of our fucked up society.
Yeah, it's very tricky in itself, and it's funny just to say it to somebody. Well, what do you? And I'm a transgender lesbian. That just cracks me up every time I say it. I have to hold it in. Yeah, it's a good idea too, because that in itself presents another idea of what we are.
Right, because it's satirical, and it points out the stupidity of what we're surrounded by, but at the same time, it kind of benefits us. But yeah, I do think
we get those 30% of idiots that they just go right to the nihilism thing. And
right.
Go, well, you guys are lesbians. How gay? And then they tell on themselves, don't they? They're that 30% of low IQ that just don't get it.
Absolutely, yeah. The whole gay shaming thing still pops up now and then. It's like, so what the fuck if I am gay? What is it? What's it to you?
It says, no, I'm a transgender lesbian. That's different than being gay. Promote some thought, Oh God. But no, they're gonna jump back on those few things that they seem to embrace, don't they? That we're gay, that we live in our mom's basement, that we're sometimes losers, TFLers, all those things. Those are go-to insults for every blue pill guy when he meets one of us, isn't it?
Yeah. I think the gay thing is an interesting thing. It's like, if you're blue pill, you got no reason to be against gays because they're just making more women available to you by being gay. You know? It's
they're telling on themselves too when they do that. That their little minds can't. We're getting a little echo in here. Their little minds can't move beyond sex and have a real idea. Isn't that what they're saying about themselves?
Right. Yeah, because when you bring up terms like gay, it's important to it's like when women bring up the fact that they're female or feminine or just all this female garbage. It all comes back to sex. So it's like they're obsessed. With sex.
Sex. So if you're not getting it from a woman, they're going, well, you must be getting it from a man. No, I'm not. Yeah, and it's like, no, it's not about that. And you're trying to explain this theory, and then you explain it, and they go back to the sex thing, and it's like, so, well, who are you getting it from? And you're trying to explain, no, I'm not getting it from nowhere. That's none of your business.
It's none of your business, man. It's none of your business. Why are you even thinking about my penis? Stop it.
stops thinking about, yeah, it stopped thinking, and that's what I do with the, they can't stop licking their balls. They're like little dogs that keep licking their balls.
That's that's a perfect analogy when I think about it.
Yeah, that little dog, he's humping on your legs, he's licking your balls, and that's all they're doing is they're humping on our legs, and you got to kick them off. Get off my leg, little dog. And they keep going to that in their mind. And how do you deal with people like this? How do you explain a simple thought, a simple idea of Mgtow when they keep going back to the sex thing? Well, that's why the monk thing is so important, because it derails their derailment, and it goes back to the topic of
Totally. It eliminates sex from the conversation.
eliminate sex from the conversation. That's why we take on the monk attitude. I'm not going to tell you about my sex life on this thing. I'm not going to go into every little detail about what I do in my bedroom, because I want people out of my bedroom. So I simply say I'm a monk, because it derails that.
Because it's irrelevant to anything that would be,
It's irrelevant,
useful to talk about.
But that's the mainstream media. Well, where are you getting your sex from? That's none of your business. Get out of my bedroom. Trudeau said it, and he said it right. We have to get the government out of our bedrooms. They're bed bugs. They're all around. They want to. That's all they can think in their little bed bug minds. Get the bed bugs. Let's do a little exterminating here, and everybody take on a more monkish attitude and say, no, that's none of your business, and be harsh about it.
Yeah, totally. And I have to sympathize with, again, with the monkey here. He says, life would be easier if I was gay. I think that a lot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because we wouldn't have these instincts that make us, bitches for women that provide and protect and want to fuck them all the time. If you were gay, this wouldn't even be an issue.
I don't think so. I don't think gay men do have it easier. I mean, I think gay men would just have just as many problems, if not a few.
The violence in within the gay community, man-on-man violence and woman-on-woman violence is much higher than in the regular society, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wait, man on man in the gay community, you say?
Yeah.
They were saying?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So domestic abuse between man-on-man violence and woman-on-woman violence in those kind of
I thought it was lesbian is the most domestic violence, and then heterosexual couples, and then homosexual gays. Isn't that right?
I can see a lot of guys getting uncomfortable.
Yeah, they're kind of squirming around.
Oh yeah, now we're going. Yeah, that's true.
Move away from each other.
See, this is where we need
penis.
We need Double J in here to explain this to us, because we don't obviously get it.
Yeah, we don't get it.
Right.
Well, if you listen to those guys, they say they get it just as they get misandry just as much as any other guy. So
yeah, but they still have to deal with the same conditions out there with gynocentrism that we have to deal with, don't they? Because it so permeates culture.
They do, but I think it seems to me that they're the most insulated from it in a way, because they don't have to deal. They're just not. I mean, they are subject to.
Yeah, they're not going to go out and get married to a woman or anything. Right. They're Mgtow by default, like Nico puts it.
Right. Yeah, Mgtow by default. Yeah.
I don't think Nico's right on that one.
yeah. It just makes because that's the default position. It's not really Mgtow, because they don't understand. I was listening to Double J and Crossing Ways, and there's something they don't get about being a man and how to deal with it in this society, which it just so affects my life in every single way. They are insulated from it, which is ignorance is bliss thing.
Well, how can you be Mgtow by default? The very concept of Mgtow was men trying to cope with a gynocentric nature, with a gynocentric society. So how were they Mgtow by default? It just doesn't make sense. It's like, if you're
looking at it from a purely sexual point of view, you would be Mgtow by default. But that's the same thing we were talking about it, because we can't get these guys to stop thinking about sex. They're looking at it from the purely sexual point of view.
Yeah, he'll pin up plenty of bare chests and men making out on your G Plus alerts.
Oh God, I think I went down my G Plus and my actually my Twitter account, and I banned like 40 people this week alone for putting up that gynocentric the anime, the girls kissing girls, the bare chested guys, and then I also banned puppies, children. Anytime someone puts up a picture of puppies, you're banned. Don't try to pull that puppy thing on me.
Correct.
These kids brought up by single mothers. That's what you get.
So then this kind of returns back a little bit, like circling back a little earlier, we're talking about like Greece. Okay, so I'm just kind of interested. What do you guys think? Like back in Greece, they didn't really elevate the female. The female was seen in her proper place. She's like she's a breeder. That's what she is, right? That's what she does. And then everything would, but so relationships, in terms of relationships, the male female relationship, it was like purely sexual. It was just for reproduction. That's what it was. It served its purpose. But their meaningful relationships were amongst men, right? They had different types of love, as we know. They have different words for different. We just kind of have one catch-all phrase, which is love, but they had different types of relationships, I guess you could say, and so those relationships were valued more. And I just think that do you think that is more kind of the direction that we're going in? Where like men don't really rely on women for like their emotional support and all this bullshit, and like where you can get that from other men.
Yeah, the mentor tutor thing. Yeah.
Well, once you've been in a relationship with a woman for long enough, you realize that she's useless at that stuff anyway. I mean, you're basically her emotional tampon. Exactly.
Right.
It's actually the opposite.
Exactly. So it just seems to me that there's like this huge barrier amongst men where it's like any kind of well, again, it's the gay thing. That's why it's the gay thing. It's like if men get too sort of close, just in terms of friendly, then there's always just like, oh, what are you, gay, man, or gayness kind of comes up as this default fear of gayness. So I just wonder how if that kind of can be torn down in society, or if it's something that's just going to kind of stay around forever or whatever.
Yeah. When you have and I hate to go back to it, but when you have 30% of males out there that have sub IQs of sub 100 IQs, and that's where their minds go, that's a marketing that's where the marketing is going to go for those men. It's sex sells, and that's
right.
At least 50 to 60% of men. That's the only thing they think about.
It's such a powerful instinct, man. It's a powerful instinct.
Yeah. Like you said, what do we replace it with? Getting with your buddies, tearing down an engine, rebuilding an engine, doing a project. That's real bonding stuff there, where he's handing you a tool which you didn't have to ask for because he knew that you're just going to need that tool, and then you're drinking a few beers, you're punching each other in the shoulder, you're doing masculine things, you're joking about sexual things, and to a better extent sometimes we're just, hey, you're gay, doing that thing, and you're developing these relationships with men that are needed,
right?
That aren't in society now because they've taken that away from us.
Right. You go philosophize online with a bunch of them about Mgtow, and no, seriously, I think we're breaking down barriers here. You think?
Yeah, I think we're breaking down the barriers. The government has eliminated male gatherings for a reason. I don't know what that reason is or what their theology about that reasoning is. They don't want men getting together and doing things like we do around here. But hey, that's one of the things we have to attack. Men need to get together, group together, talk about men stuff. That's what we do here.
Yeah, I think it's kind of Howard Dare just inspired us for a moment. That women tend. This is what they do: is they basically conflate sexual feelings with, it's like turning your sexual feelings into love, but they're actually different. If you can separate sex from your emotions, then you're better off.
Yeah, that metaphysical heart muscle that they have. We hear so much about the heart wants what the heart wants and all that garbage. That's not real stuff. We know that as soon as you come into Mgtow, and it's not very well explained sometimes. It's just chemicals.
Right. It's just a chemical milieu, a cocktail.
Yeah.
It's like taking a drug, really, just drugs.
Yeah, they're just addicted to that, and they want more of it. They want more of it. So their whole life, their box or their little package, that's their life. That's all they can see, is in that short little that what's in that box. That's all they can see, and it becomes a sounding box for themselves to verify what makes them happy, to validate what makes them happy, and it's addictive. It's reciprocal. It just keeps going around and around, and they keep making the same mistakes, and they can never get out of that box and live a larger life.
Right. Yeah, it's, if you're not careful, the women's will use that sexual kind of opening to crawl up into your emotional space. That's what they want to do. They want to crawl up in your emotions and burrow into your emotions, because that's what I realized.
Yeah, it's the parasiticism. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it makes it. It's one reason men are so vulnerable is because women's sort of weapons are multi-layered. So first of all, you have the sexual attraction. Males have this powerful sexual attraction, and they go and you have the sex, and there's all this cocktail of chemicals. And then, but even if that were the only thing that they had, it would still be a lot. But it's not the only thing that they have. They have more than that to use against you.
Yeah.
They have the emotional, because so they spin. Once you've been opened up with that sexual situation, then they reach in and grab at your emotions, and they pulling all your triggers, and that's how they turn you into a fucking robot.
Yeah, you're a meat machine then. That's it. Yeah. So we went on. We were at about an hour and 2.5 hours here. We're running into a little time that's not palatable to watch or rewatch.
Yeah.
Did you guys want to do a 4 o'clocker or?
What's up, Shining? How you being over there?
Oh, yeah, we can do.
Yeah. Take a break and see what happens here. Does anybody want to talk about their sexual exploits with women this week?
I think we
I was out at this club.
How I dominated one
chick.
Oh, how I owned it.
I owned the pussy.
Yeah, I owned her. Yeah, I so dominated the sandwich lady at the sandwich shop, and she made me that sandwich. And I was like, make it, you bitch.
You stared her the fuck down, and she gave it to you for free, didn't she?
Yeah, I gave her the gaze and made her make me that sandwich, and I gave her $5 and said thanks.
Yeah, so shout out to everyone who turned up, and thanks for all the guys who watched today.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys, for showing up. We had quite a good turnout today. We were up to 45 at one point, and that's pretty good. I'd like to get up to 90 eventually in this thing, but hey, we'll see how it goes. We got a lot of work to do in front of us. Better defining Mgtow.
The largest viewership I've seen was that Oregon thing. They had like 900 at one point.
Yeah, they had a huge amount. That guy was retarded too, wasn't he?
I didn't understand the format of that podcast. I mean, what was he doing? I mean, I didn't understand what was going on.
Yeah, 900 people watching a bulldozer dig a hole, and it was probably some. He had and it was like, okay, we're getting ready for war.
Yeah. It's like, oh, something's gonna happen. And I was watching it for 3 hours, and he just switched over to like this newscast. I think he was
I didn't
switched
see
over
it.
to somebody.
I didn't see
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, it was right after they killed Finnegan. I can't remember his name.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah,
So
yeah.
he just jumped on that opportunity to like film a bulldozer like they were building trenches, and it was so funny. It was like I said a few times, "Aren't you guys going to talk about anything?" And they just the guy kept coming up and going, "Yeah, we're ready to fight." And I think it was just a bunch of working guys that were like filming they're building a trench somewhere, and then I asked them, "Did you monetize this?"
Yeah.
It was just an opportunity, right? Opportunistic move.
It was an opportunity thing, but yeah, we'd like to get up to that. So with that, you guys want to close out with any thoughts, or
Shiny?
have we done?
Yeah, I just thank everyone for turning up. Thanks. Hot Ice just turned up as well. I love when they turn up. I think they do. I think they do that on purpose. It's like they wait until right at the end and then say, "Oh, I came late." He was at the beginning.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the talk today, gentlemen. It was really good. I particularly the masculinity thing I think was pretty cool. I actually have a couple. Maybe I kept a couple of the comments of what masculinity is. Not being a cunt, I think, was one of the good ones. Not being a cunt.
Oh, that's a cop out. That's a cop out.
Yeah.
Okay,
And the will to power. So, yeah, I don't know if you guys are gonna be around later. I'll have to check.
Eric making enemies everywhere he goes.
Eric's still making it. Okay. Okay. Thanks a lot, guys, for showing up. And with that, be strong, Mgtow. Take this Mgtow into every facet of your life, and let's grow this thing and let's keep going because the world needs it. And
Very best, gentlemen.